Alright guys, how's it going? I know I've been teasing this for a little bit and keeping it a little bit hush-hush, but here is my deck list for my updated Post-Ottawa Draven deck. I've made a lot of changes and made some like philosophical changes to the list as well, which is pretty interesting. And fundamentally, this deck has started going closer and closer towards just being a hold deck. It was already like 90% of the way there before, and I've really embraced it. So first things first, the first thing, elephant we're gonna address in the room, Star-Tipped Peak. Star-Tipped Peak. My going second battlefield has been replaced with Star-Tipped Peak. This is fucking crazy, nonsensical garbage, but it's been treating me so well so far. So cut to the chase a little bit. I attended 2 skirmishes this weekend, and I placed third at one of them, going 5-1 total, and then I placed first in the other one, going 5-0 in total. So in these 2 skirmishes together, I went a total of 10-1, and all of these games are going to be uploaded onto the YouTube channel in the next week or two. I'm kind of spacing it out a little bit because they're like an hour each. Like each video is like 2 rounds usually, so I cut it down to like about an hour. So the videos are quite long. So you'll be able to watch every single game for these 2 skirmishes that I just played. But yeah, so I went third in the first one and first in the second one. Really happy with where this list currently is, and I will talk about kind of what the sideboard strategies are, what the flex slots are, and how to just kind of adjust this deck according to your personal local meta. Here's like kind of the core of the list. So we have Glorious Executioner, we have 6 Fury Runes and 6 Chaos Runes. This is unchanging. And then the battlefields are now Grove of the Godwell, Starspring, and then Star-Tipped Peak as well. So Starspring is the blind battlefield, Grove is the going first battlefield, and then Star-Tipped Peak is the going second battlefield. Most of the main deck is still the same. So here's the main deck. We still have Shobo as a chosen champion. We still have 1 Blood Rush, 1 Gust. I know it talked about going up to 2 Blood Rushes or like 1 Blood Rush, 1 Cleave in the Ottawa video, but I ended up cutting that and or not doing that. So I just have the 1 Blood Rush and the 1 Gust. 3 stack deck, and here's where we start getting into some of the interesting stuff. I have 1 Against the Odds in the main board. So this is a flex slot, and it depends on your local meta. So I'm a big proponent of adjusting your list to the local meta, unless you're going to like a regional qualifier. But like, there's no point in taking like a specialized list and taking it to a metagame where it is not well positioned, right? So if your meta has a ton of mastery, then obviously Against the Odds is not something that you're really going to be interested in running. But my meta has a lot of Rengar and a lot of Rek'Sai, and I was thinking that Against the Odds is a pretty reasonable inclusion for the Rengar, Rek'Sai, and Kennen mashups, which I thought was pretty reasonable. But yeah, so 1 Against the Odds in the main board. This is the first change that we've run into so far. And then we have 3 Evelyns. I'm still on 3 Evelyns. I love this card. And then here's the next weird inclusion of the list is I'm on 1 Teemo. So you might notice I trimmed 1 Tide Turner for the 1 Teemo, and I kind of like it. I'm kind of okay with it. I have Boots in the sideboard, and I also have Ride the Winds now in the deck, which we'll get to. So you don't really need a ton of like mobility from one battlefield to the next battlefield. We're on Starspring as well, so there's not like a huge amount of reason to have like the full 3 Tide Turners. I know when I was talking about the Ottawa Draven list, I was like, oh, we're automatically putting 3 Tide Turners in because this card is just broken. I think this card is very good, which is why I have 2 of them. But I think having the Teemo is a pretty interesting inclusion because it does fulfill one of the roles that I was looking for, which is having more threatening hidden cards. You need to have like hidden cards that have more threat in them so that people aren't walking into you, or else they walk into your hidden card too often, and then your Evelyn or Tide Turner that gets flipped doesn't get as much value as it theoretically could. So I wanted 1 more slot that was not switcheroo, that I could hide and have it be threatening. And realistically, that slot was like Teemo, Red Pike, and Purple Pike. Those are like kind of the only hidden cards that you're happy to flip. Teemo is the same size as Red Pike, but I don't have to pay the power cost. It retains as 1 might less, but it is also a 2-drop. So I'm allowed to trim a 2-drop for this instead of having to go put this into the 3-drop slot. And it helps me kind of compress the rolls a little bit. So this is on 1 Teemo Scout and 2 Tide Turn. And then we still have the 3 treasure hunters. I'm dead set on this card. This card is really, really good. It's like infinitely better than Overzealous Fan. I swear to God, I swear to God, treasure hunter is better than Overzealous Fan. I swear. I can talk about Overzealous Fan a little bit more a little bit later, but we won't worry about it for now. I'm on 1 Ride the Wind. This Ride the Wind has been really, really, really good, and I'm really, really happy that somebody suggested that I put the Ride the Wind in. It's been really good. The one of, I think, the Draven deck does tend to play relatively honestly, which is a surprise based on its Spirit Forged notoriety, I guess. But the Ride the Wind helps scam a couple more points here and there and provide you with a few more options. Ride the Wind in conjunction with Boots is really, really strong as well. Like if you have Boots on the board and an empty board, like in terms of units, you can play a unit from hand, equip the Boots, and then Ride the Wind and double conquer, which is like very, very reasonable, very good. So having access to the 1 Ride the Wind has been like really, really good. I'm really happy about it. I would like consider going to 2, but I don't think going to 2 is necessary. I think the 1 is pretty good. We have 3 Spinning Axe and 2 Falling Star, 2 Rebuke, and 1 Switcheroo. So this stuff is all remaining the same from the Ottawa video. 1 Rek'Sai, 2 Up from the Deep, 1 Star Cost, also the same as the Ottawa video. And now we're going to another low-key, maybe blasphemous change. We're on 2 Kai'Sa. Instead of 3 Kai'Sa, we're on 2 Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa kind of sucks. Kind of sucks. I don't know if it's like blasphemous or not to say, but I've been testing this list with 2 Kai'Sa, and I think it's correct. Kai'Sa kind of just dies, especially like into the Rengar matchup. It just dies into like the Rek'Sai matchup. You don't really need to conquer that much. It's like better into the Kennen matchup than Vex, like marginally, but I don't know. I've been like mostly unimpressed with the Kai'Sa slot. I think 2 is fine. You do want to have a little bit more like accelerated threats to have like access to. So I'm happy to keep it at 2. I don't think I'd go lower than 2, but I think trimming the 1 Kai'Sa is like maybe correct. I'm on 3 Hopeful, and then I went up to 3 Vex. So this is an adaptation from Ottawa. My expectation was that Rengar was going to skyrocket in popularity because number 1, Prism at 1, Ottawa, and number 2, that deck is super fun. That deck is extremely fun, and so even players that aren't like meta chasing, they instead like look at Prismat's list and be like, man, kind of interesting. Let me try it out a game or 2 and be like, man, this deck is really fun. And so I wanted 3rd Vex for the Rengar matchup, and the Rengar matchup is really difficult for Draven, right? Like, I think with this list, it ends up being like 55-45 for the Rengar, but I think a typical Draven list might actually suffer more than my list. Is my assumption? Yeah, I think the typical Draven list might suffer more. So I think a typical Draven list would be like 60-40 for the Rengar, but my list is like slightly, maybe marginally a little bit better. And then we're still on 2 Darius and then 1 Ferris Forward. I cut both the Zeds. I think Zed is like really, really interesting and really good for a different style of deck. This deck leans so much heavier towards holding, like leveraging hidden cards and just holding, that the Zeds are a little bit out of place. Zed's like really strong as like an aggressive value engine to just keep your opponent trying to deal with it the whole game as it like walks around and kills everything. But I don't think it really fits the style of this deck all that much. I think Zed's like a perfectly reasonable inclusion to see in a Draven deck, and I think it's fine. I think it's great, but I don't think it fits in this specific style. Okay. So that's the main board. Onto the sideboard. So this sideboard is the sideboard that I brought to the skirmish win, and it has 1 different slot from the 3rd place skirmish, which is the Ravenbloom Prefect slot. But I have 1 Gust. This Gust is to respect LeBlanc and Diana. LeBlanc and Diana is really where the Gusts actually do a lot of work. And then LeBlanc is a deck that has had really good results recently, and is a very reasonable deck because Gust has been cut from a lot of purple decks, and Gust just murders that deck. So having access to 2nd Gust plus the 1 Starcrossed in the main helps lower the variance on the LeBlanc matchup. So I was pretty happy to have 1 Gust. I've always had 1 Gust, and I'm still happy to have it. I have 1 Existential Dread. So this Existential Dread, I'm mostly happy with it. I have not played it. I think I've resolved this card 1 time. I'm like mostly happy with it. So this deck does tend towards holding a lot more. It is a little bit slower, and you're playing from behind most of the game. And the idea is mainly to just slow the game down and just try to hold and stabilize and then overwhelm your opponent with card advantage. In Existential Dread, my main goal with Existential Dread was I wanted a way to help me hold at 1 mana. I wanted a card, any card, that helps me defensively at 1 mana. And Existential Dread is like low-key the only card in these colors, in this color combination, that helps defensively at 1 mana. So I have the 1 Existential Dread. I just need my opponent to respect it, and if they don't respect it, there is a world in which it blows them out, or at least makes a trade very, very favorable. Usually what it'll be is they'll like run into me, I'll stun one thing, and then I'll kill one thing and they bounce away, and then I get to hold. That's like really, really, really good, really, really valuable. So I'm on the 1 Existential Dread. I have 1 Brittle Steel, and then 1 Switcheroo. So Brittle Steel is unchanged from Ottawa. Switcheroo was added. This is mostly to respect the Mastery matchup, the Rengar matchup, and then it has like usage in other matchups as well. Like it's like decent into the Diana matchup, it's decent into the Azir matchup, and it's like good into Aurora and stuff like that. So second Switcheroo is pretty good. There's a lot of times where you need to threaten a little bit more, like your hidden cards need to be more threatening. So the Switcheroo comes in so that on average your hidden cards are better defensively than they are like in terms of actually getting value. 1 Boost of Swiftness. I love this Boost of Swiftness. This Boost of Swiftness is never leaving the sideboard unless it's going into the main board. That's the only time I'm taking this Boost of Swiftness out of the sideboard. And then I have 1 Riftbound Prefect. This Riftbound Prefect was a Brin Here Thunder Song, but my local metagame does not have a lot of Irelia, which is what Brin Here is for. Brin Here is for like Irelia Rengar style, but it's like kind of just okay into Rengar. And then it's good into Irelia. And then the Rainbloom Prefect is to respect Aurora. So a little bit of a spoiler, I lost the skirmish to Aurora, and I knew he was coming to the skirmish today. And so I wanted like one more answer for Aurora in the deck somewhere, right? So that's what I ended up doing. And then I have the 1 Thermal Beam. I think I talked about this in the Ottawa video. I think I had 2 Brittle Steel or something like that. I went to 1 Brittle, 1 Thermo. It's like been pretty good. I've been pretty happy with the Thermo. Having access to cheap gear removal and expensive gear removal is actually like a nice duality. Thermo has a lot more usage in the like. It's good in the Aurora matchup, especially since Jace Aurora is like the only Aurora deck that is actually playable right now. And also just like is really good into Azir. Like your Azir matchup's already good, and then you like resolve Thermal Beam, and your opponent literally cannot win that game. So I'm pretty happy with it. And Azir's like a good enough deck that you should be able to, you should respect it in some case, and it kind of compresses it. Like if it was another Brittle Steel, like you probably put it into the Azir matchup, but having 2 Brittle Steels is like can be really awkward into the Azir matchup because they could like just play a Rise and then have 20 might on the board, and then like shooting a BF Sword like doesn't really do that much. I still have the 1 Draven Audacious just to respect like Lux and other control matchups, and then any matchups where like you can score to 5 really easily and then like it's really hard to go to 8, like Aurora or something. Draven is like theoretically better than Showboat because you can like walk in and then rebuke something. Like if they have Elder on the board and like no Bellows or Flurry in hand, which is obviously like a big ask, right? But 1 unit on board, you're untapping with Draven, they have no Flurry or Bellows in hands, you can like walk on and like rebuke something and then win that combat and then score to 8 that way. So. And then we have the 2 Fairest Foreigners. So I don't remember what it was before, but I was on 1 Fairest Foreigner in the sideboard, and then in the Ottawa video I was talking about how I wouldn't hate you if you went to 2 Foreigners in the side. I'm happy I said that because I went to 2 Foreigners in the side. Fairest Foreigner is for the Rengar matchup and like the Rek'Sai matchup as well. And holy crap, does this card do work in the Rengar matchup? This card does so much work in the Rengar matchup. The Rengar matchup is literally, I'm going to get onto a point and just throw every Fairest Foreigner I own onto that battlefield and just hold. And just hold and hold and hold, and then eventually break into the other battlefield and hold that for the rest of the game. So super, super, super good. So I want to take a little bit of a step back from the actual cards themselves, and we can talk a little bit more about the sideboarding strategy. So you might be wondering, why are we on Star Tip Peak? Why are we on Star Tip Peak? Why are we on Star Tip Peak? When you hold here, you may channel 1 Rune Exhausted. Do you know what this actually means? Do you know what this actually translates to? When you hold here, you may create an untapped gold token. Untapped gold token. So when I am going second, I play Star Tipped Peak, and I side out every treasure hunter I own. That's the strategy. Treasure Hunter is a really, really good card. Really good card when you're going first. Really good card in Star Spring, generally speaking. But when you are drawing it anytime after turn 1, this card is unplayable. This card is unplayably bad. And so what does Treasure Hunter help you do? Treasure Hunter helps offset power costs. And Draven is an extremely power hungry deck. So since Treasure Hunter offsets power costs, is there a way for me to be allowed to cut this card and still offset power costs and then increase the average card quality of my deck? And my answer to that was, I'm going to run Start to Peak going second, and I'm going to cut every single Treasure Hunter I own, and I'm still going to have a reasonable number of turn 1 plays. What happens when I cut Treasure Hunter? Okay, so I have 3 Evelynns. I have 1 Teemo, which obviously is not a great turn 1 play, but it is technically a turn 1 play. I have 2 Tide Turners. I have 1 Rek'Sai. And I have 2 Up from the Deeps. And I also have 3 stack decks. So if you don't include the stack decks, I have 9 cards that I can play on turn 1. And if you do include the stack decks, you have 12 cards that you can play. That's kind of reasonable. That's pretty good. Obviously, I have missed my turn 1 play going second with this list on the Start to Peak game. 12 is missable. 12 is very missable. But I think the math on 12, if you're mulliganing 2, pretty sure the math on 12 is like 92% or something. So you're very likely to hit it. So if I'm allowed to cut every single Treasure Hunter I own, number 1, it makes sideboarding easier because I can just pull in all the cards that I want and I already know what I'm siding out, which is the Treasure Hunters. Perfect. And then I figured, in the same vein, when I'm going first on this grove, what I can do is I can cut the Up from the Deeps as well. Up from Deep is like a good card. There's a lot of matchups where it's really good, and so you're allowed to keep Up from Deep in to like Color Week matchups. But if you're not playing against the Color Week matchup, this is a 3-mana 2/2, is below rate. So when I'm going first, I'm allowed to cut the Up from the Deep, which is very interesting. So usually what ends up happening is I'll cut 3 Treasure Hunters on the Start to Peak game, and on the Grove game, in order to be able to maintain the same 3 slots, I'll cut the 3 Up from the Deeps, and then I'll either cut Blood Rush, or I'll cut Against the Odds, depending on the matchup, right? So if I'm against like Master Yi or something, I'll cut the Against the Odds, and if I'm against basically anything else, I'll Blood Rush. And the idea of keeping Blood Rush in your going second game, and then removing Blood Rush in your going first game, is there are going to be fewer times in the game in which you're forced to attack in, because you're the one that gets to walk onto the board first. So Blood Rush is more likely to get usage in your going second game than it will in your going first game. So that's why the general sideboarding strategy is take out every Treasure Hunter on your going second game, on your Start to game, and on your going first game, on your Grove game, you're taking out Up from the Deep and Blood Rush. That's like kind of the general strategy, and then you'll take out whatever else you need. Usually what happens is you'll switch out about 4 to 5 cards from your sideboard into the main board in any single matchup. And this number can go as high as like 7 or 8 or something like that. So sideboard is very strong, and the nice thing is there aren't really cards that are fighting for a place in the deck, because you usually have cards that you're pretty happy to remove on your going second game and your going first game, depending on what the matchup is, which is really nice. Helps simplify the sideboarding strategy just a little bit. Helps you fit the cards that you want to fit from the sideboard into your main board. Very nice. So that's the deck. I hope you guys are interested. Let me know if you have any questions about it. I will be releasing videos, like replays, for every single match that I played for the 2 skirmishes that I attended this weekend, and I will be commentating over each and every single one of them. So I will be providing my thought process, my matchup thoughts, and my sideboarding thoughts and stuff like that for all those when we get there. If you guys are interested in additional content for this deck, let me know. I can put together like sideboard guides and stuff like that, but I'm like a super vibes based sideboarder, so it like doesn't matter that much. But yeah, just let me know. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. I'll leave the deck list in the description below. Bye bye.